All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And tonight I'd like to discuss the various forms of remote viewing and the curses and blessings of being a dark sorcerer, especially from a business perspective. Okay. Now, what is remote viewing? Let me lower that down here. Remote viewing is kind of like idyllic memory recall. When you reach into a memory, you're remote viewing these past, well, let's just say experiences, these past afflictions or, past events, depending on your personal outview of what it is. Okay. Now, from an occultist perspective, especially that of a sorcerer's perspective, when we remove, how should I say this? When we review remote viewing, we are recalling or replaying in our heads what we've experienced and what we've done, especially through ritual, through that of, say, oneomancy, chiromancy, or some form of ritualized experience. Now, this can also be played into an account of dealing with clients as well. And I'm gonna discuss this a little bit here. Just out of how should I say this, shits and giggles. Okay, which is why there's no one under 18 that's going to be listening to this video because I'm literally going to speak my mind here, which I don't do very often. Now, everyone who gets into occultism realizes after a while that there's a lot of showboaters and egotists out there. People who would be dubbed attention whores. People who are only in it for money and fame. They think it's about popularity. They think it's about numbers, okay, when in fact it's really not. And when it comes to a business perspective, a lot of these individuals actually seeking help go to individuals who, like I said, are egotists or attention whores. They're more about money and look at me type, you know, profanity. Now, and then they overlook those who are actual practitioners. But in this case, my brother contacted me earlier tonight and asked me if I'd looked at a page that I haven't been on in over a year. It's literally been just about a year and a half since the last time I was on it. And so I told him I had just walked through the door. I'll get onto it in just a few minutes. Let me, you know, decompress, clear my mind, that type of shit. So after a few minutes of relaxation, I got on. I went underneath Facebook. I went underneath this page that I created a few years ago. And like I said, I haven't been on for a good long time. So, I mean, I'm surprised it's actually up and running since there's been no posts or anything on it for a very long time, except for those who keep messaging in. And most of them I don't deal with anyways. But anyways, this particular potential client came to us asking for a warlock, asking for black magic, asking for revenge and things that needed to be avenged. Okay. But when asked why, she could not or would not go into detail. Even after we pressed to find out the issue, the root of that need, because Those who are experienced workers know to make an effective spell, you have to actually understand the emotion. You have to understand the event that took place, or events, depending on how many, set things in motion. Okay. How many times were they denied? Where did they go to first? Did they go to the justice system? Things that will help within the spell itself, the ritual. Okay, and this is where remote viewing comes in, because of the fact that when you ask somebody, especially somebody that claims to be a practitioner, to recall the event, what kick-started this event, they'd ask why. Why? What's the point? Well, then you really don't need the ritual done at this point. You don't know yourself why you want this certain thing to be avenged. You don't know why this type of event took place to where you're angry, you're frustrated, you're grieving. Okay. These are emotional states. Okay. Did you go to the legal system? Did the legal system let you down? Okay. These are events from the original event that took place. Okay. Which caused the grief, the frustration, the loss of balance. Okay. So here, when we look at remote viewing, you really want to get into your client's head and find out what kicked off their reason for seeking vengeance, seeking this type of ritual or that type of ritual. And in this case, it was out of hatred, it was out of vengeance. And this individual really could not recall why. She would not get into it. So my brother came to me and I told him, put this forth and see what she does. Because of the fact that you have trolls out there, you have people who think it's a game, so they're going to test you. They're going to test your resolve. Are you going to be a chump and fall for these antics? Or are you going to be an actual practitioner and find out the root cause? Because when you get to be a priest or a priestess level, you take on many forms. Okay. Number one, you're not just a priest, you're also a psychologist. You get into the psyche. You're dealing with counseling. You're a counselor. You're a priest. You're a healer. You're a spiritual leader. Okay. There's many forms when it comes to being an ordained priest or a minister of any kind, especially a multi-faith minister. Okay. And when you got about 20 to 30 years of experience behind you in occultism of various different path workings and ritualized religious backgrounds, you can remote view your past experiences with other clients. Most of them that come to us are looking for the Illuminati. They want to get rich quick type aspects. But yet they themselves do not understand why. More so when they get into it. Oh, I want to join Satan. I want to sell my soul to Satan to become rich and famous. What makes you think that Satan wants your soul? Well, I want to join Satanism so I can join the Illuminati. Well, number one, the Illuminati is not real. Second of all, if they were real, what makes them think, what makes you think that they would want you? Okay? You see the point there. Okay? And for the longest time, that's what I got, to the point where I stopped with these people and I just started blocking them. I got that sixth sense about who I'm dealing with. So when my brother came to me on this one tonight, I went in and I read down through the entire conversation. Literally, I read down through it. And There was just something about this profile that caught my attention, and I didn't know why. So I replied once to her, and the rest was all my brother, okay, my business partner. So while he was finishing up with her, I went underneath her profile. There's no post underneath it, which tells me it's a shell game. Okay, and what is a shell game? A shell game is a con. Okay, it's basically a con. The best way to describe this is it's a branding profile. Okay, set up specifically for an event, and that's to get to you, to deter your resolve, to take your attention from here and put it over here. Okay, so if you're completely dedicated to the occult and to your studies, then something like this would not deter you from that study and that practice. Okay, dedication, commitment, and focus. All right. Now, in this case, there was no posts, no nothing. Number two, only a couple, 1 to 2 photos on this count. And number three, very limited and very discreet information, a lot of which are things that had nothing to do with occultism or any form of ritualized items. Okay. It was sports. It was just random things put onto that site. But there was something about the name that caught my attention. So I went to message this individual off the profile. And surprise, surprise, almost a year ago, I had a conversation with this person. And I read down through that, and it's like, huh, okay, now I remember why I don't remember this person. Okay, again, remote viewing. Second of all, I remembered the surrounding area of the conversation and the events to why I eliminated that person's communication with me. And then I went to my brother and I showed this to him. And he came back and said, yep, that was my initial point. Troll. Okay. So not only from a business perspective, but it's also from an occultist perspective here, because number one, as dark sorcerers, as warlocks, as male practitioners, or even female practitioners for that matter, when you open up a business, a page, you're going to come into this stuff. You're going to get these trolls, you're going to get these attention seekers, but on occasion, you're going to get the serious adept, somebody who actually wants to learn, somebody who actually needs your help. Okay. And one of the ways that you can separate them is ask for money. Now, I know it sounds weird, but when you sit there and you set up an actual account and you set up prices for your services, anyone who is serious about seeking you out for a type of ritual, it doesn't matter if it's a compassion ritual, it doesn't matter if it's a lust ritual, it doesn't matter if it's a destruction ritual, or even an apprentice course. Okay, they're going to pay for it. Okay, the really serious ones are willing to put the time in. They're not only going to pay you for your time, but they're going to sit there and work hard to learn. You see, this is what separates these trolls, these wannabes, these attention seekers from those who actually want to learn, because these types are only in it because they don't want to learn. They don't want to open themselves up. They're too focused on the need, okay? The want, the desire. I want me. It's all about me, okay? But when asked for questions, when you ask questions, they can't answer these questions, or they're unwilling to answer these questions. You see, this is what we call trolls. It's called evasiveness. And there's too much of this on social media. There's really too much of this. And you have to be careful. Think of it as a minefield, okay? You've got to be able to go through this minefield while studying, while practicing, while building up your repertoire, your career as a sorcerer or sorceress. You got to build up your reputation, your own power, your own connections, bring in your own clientele. Okay. Remote viewing is something that I recommend because it fits into so many different areas. It doesn't just fit in with oneomancy, which is dream magic. Okay. It doesn't help with recalling a ritual, perhaps a spiritual journey through, say, astral projection, perhaps something that took place during the day that you have to recap on. Okay. When you can close your eyes and learn to remote view it, play it back in your head. How did it transpire? Where did you last see it? Where did you realize that you lost that item? Okay. Do you know how many times I've had to do this for my own brothers and sisters who have lost their keys or an amulet? Okay. I have a sister that I charged an amulet for her. Okay. And I sent it to her. And she really doesn't go very far without it. Okay. And what was interesting is she realized she lost it. She couldn't figure out where it was. She tore her apartment upside down. She finally came to me and she says, "Brother, I lost that amulet. I don't know where it is." And I said, "It's in your living room." She went into the living room and found it exactly where I told her to look. And she says, "Brother, how did you do this?" I said, "It's remote viewing, but it's more than that. When you charge something up, you have that personal connection to that item. You can sit there and remote view everything. When you utilize shadowmancy, you're able to move from shadow to shadow. You're able to see what people see." I had a friend of mine down in Pennsylvania that I lost track with a couple years back. I told her everything. I've never been to her apartment, and I told her exactly where everything is in her apartment. She tried to make it personal, and I told her exactly what was in those drawers. She couldn't believe it. You see, occultism allows you to do so much. You adapt to the energies. You learn to recap on things, to remember things, but more so as you grow and you learn within any field of occultism. It doesn't matter if it's voodoo. It doesn't matter if it's Santa Morte, Satanism, demonolatry, witchcraft, necromancy, paleomayambi, druidism, shamanism. You're going to connect to your higher self, your spiritual self. And when you do that, you're going to be opening yourself up to a huge, huge arena of possibilities that you're going to have a chance to master. Okay. So, in a business sense, this is both a blessing, but it's also a curse. It's what separates you from the wannabes and the fakes, but it also isolates you. because not everybody is going to be pleased with how you do your business. Not everybody is going to be satisfied by the work you do. Okay? It is physically impossible to please everybody. Anton Zandelavey clearly spoke these words. Okay? It is clearly impossible to please everybody. You're going to have your haters, you're going to have your doubters, but you're going to have your believers as well. Remote viewing and remembering all of this stuff and being able to play it over and over again in your head, seeing it unfold before it unfolds. That's when you get really good at it. You're able to look at a profile. Even that first greeting, that first meeting, it's like, yep, I've seen this before. Be on guard. Be ready for that other shoe to drop. And you know what's funny about that? You can literally see every frame of that picture unfolding. Not joking. You could see it unfolding as though you're hitting the pause button repeatedly on a VHS player. And yes, I know I just went old school on you. I know everybody's now into DVDs and what do they call that? Blu-ray. Okay. Or one of the more modern things like Hulu or Netflix. You know, but you can recap everything. You can learn to identify markers. You can learn to go back in your own mind and see where all this stuff is and how it's transgressing. So the next time you conduct business and you get contacted by someone, you're going to see it unfold in your head long before that next step is applied. It's downright amazing how it goes. Yeah, I used to get contacted by all these individuals from Ethiopia or Malawi or the Philippine regions, and it's all these individuals that want to, like I said, they want that get rich quick thing. They want to join the Illuminati, and they don't learn. I want to sell my soul to Satan to become part of the Illuminati. Number one, they're two different organizations. Number two, like I said, what makes you think they want you? Okay, and that's if they're real. Well, then they'd sit there and they reverse it. And they'll go into a different angle and a different one and a different one, still leading to that same goal through Satan and Satanism to the Illuminati. Well, how do I become a Satanist to join the Illuminati? Well, didn't I just explain this? You see my point here. It's that remote viewing, that recall, that automatic recall of past orthodoxies, of how you can see where this is going. Which is why when this region comes to my doorstep, I don't pick up because I already know how it's going to unfold just by looking at their profile. Nowadays, I do my thing and I don't give two shits what other people do. Because like I said, you can't make everybody happy. I've got two haters right now. Just two haters. One that came out of the blue, started attacking me again. Another one because I blocked his ass because I didn't want to deal with his drama. And then you got this other person who chimed in on one of my videos. Don't even know who the hell she is. Sitting there trash talking me. And it's like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore your ass. And you see, this is what happens. You gotta get used to this and you gotta expect it. Okay? So from here, just by remote viewing, business, practice, dealing with the community, all this stuff is gonna come down one way or another. It's unavoidable. Something for you to get into your head right now. But you got to be careful on who you trust. You got to be careful on how you conduct your business. You don't want to reveal too much too soon. Think of it as a business deal. If you're going in to have a contract with a company, you don't want to put your best foot forward. You want to sit there and negotiate for what you have to offer. Okay? You want to show your reputation. You want to show about that much work. This is what you're working on. This is what the business that you're trying to get into bed with has going on. Okay? You want to combine the two because they have parts that you need for what you're doing. Okay? So how do you make that contract to go the same direction between those two companies? Number one, you got to make a plan. You got to put what works forward, kind of like doing a resume. If you're doing things on custodial and warehousing, look at your past. You got warehousing in your past, utilize it. Where did you work? How did you do it? What year? How many years? When did you start? Where did you end? What were your duties? Same thing with custodial. Or, say, for example, customer service. Same exact thing, right? So when you get into a contract situation, like, say, doing your thing here on YouTube or on Facebook, even Instagram. Don't even get me started on Twitter. That's one place I stay away from. I don't understand it. All those little tweets. Never could get used to that or understand it. But my point is this: look for commonalities. Don't reveal too much too soon because you want to have that landslide at the very end to gain that contract. So when you're doing business, you really want to put what you have out there. What do you have to offer? Because in the end, you are selling yourself, okay? Within your spiritual business. And when you're reviewing or remote viewing your past, you really need to touch up on that and capitalize on this. But also look at who you've attracted so far and learn how to avoid it, to avoid most of the negative, to gain the positive. Those of you who follow my work, you know I'm an educator. I pull from multiple different sources, but I also speak to personal experiences. And the reason for this is because when I first started doing public speaking, and I started my order, the Order of the Blackthorn, I was told two things that I hold true today. Still today. Almost literally just about a decade worth of running this order by myself, promoting it, bringing it into full manifestation. I did this slowly, cautiously, adapted when I needed change. But I learned on what works and what doesn't. And when I saw something not working, I fixed it. The same is going to be done within every aspect of occultism. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to mature. It's up to you as the individual on how fast you learn that. Not everybody learns this stuff at the same interval. That's a given. You're going to learn at your own time and your own pace. But the two things that I would recommend for you is the same two pieces of information that was given to me. Number one, whatever you preach, always, always back it up with sources. Now you look at what I've done so far on this channel, on this particular video. I talked about business. I talked about resumes, contracts, oneomancy, different religions, and I backed it all up with actual facts. Okay? Back up what you preach. Okay? And number two, always make yourself available to the public. Okay? Because number one, you answer to the public. Everything that you put out there, you are accountable for. Okay? You are accountable for what you put out there. If your intent is for negativity, popularity, egotistical maneuvers, you know where the unsubscribe button is. Okay? Because I'm not here to showboat and I'm not here to kiss your ass. I'm here to teach you, to educate you upon the occult, upon the different root workings, path workings, the different perspectives of the topics that surrounds what witchcraft and sorcery is broken down into. So you back up what you preach with references, facts, sources, personal experiences. And then you make yourself available to the public. So when they have questions, you actually have the answers that they seek. You see, this is what separates you from the wannabes, these showboaters, these egotists who think it's about popularity and numbers. How many of you have gone to a lot of these people and asked for things? How many of you have asked about topics and gotten no reply? You've been ignored by them. Or they tell you to Google it. Well, I not only tell you to Google it or to research it yourself, but I also give you sources that you can look into for yourself and learn. Because you're going to learn more by doing it yourself than if I was to teach you how to do it. You know, that old expression, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And a man who does not learn from history is doomed to repeat it. Okay? If you give a fish to a man, you feed him for a day. But here's the kicker. If you teach a man how to fish, you feed him for life. Okay? To educate somebody on occultism, upon witchcraft, sorceries, you're teaching them and giving them the tools that they're going to be able to utilize and capitalize on through experimentation for decades. Hell, they can even take it and pass it on to their students. Why? Because they took what you do and they take from the sources that you give them. They capitalize on it, they experiment with it, they utilize it and find out what works for them. and what doesn't. And that stuff that doesn't, they experiment with. How do you capitalize on that and make it work for you? That's experimentation. Capitalism, capitalizing on what can work for you. You see, putting that positive spin on things. There's no drama. There's no ego. It's simple education. It's instruction. It's humbleism. And I think the occult world needs more of that. But that's my personal opinion on this. But you got to go with remote viewing because there's so many topics, so many areas and arenas that can play into just that topic and how it applies to magicians, sorcerers, wizards, warlocks, black magicians. Only you can decide how far you take it and if you follow those instructions. But you got to use what you have. When I first started, I didn't have all the tools that I have today. I didn't have the apartment. I didn't have the fancy car, Saturn View. I didn't have, you know, a family of my own. I didn't have a lot of things. I traveled a lot, but I learned from a lot of different areas and a lot of different experiences. You see, wisdom comes with age, yes. And yes, the very young don't always do what they're told, which is why you let them learn for themselves. All you can do is guide, teach. Only you can do that. You got to decide for yourselves where you're going to take your sorcery, how far you're willing to go. What are you going to deal with and put up with? Are you going to eventually stand up for yourself and say, you know what? I'm done with this shit. I'm tired of these morons that don't want to learn. I want to deal with serious practitioners who actually want to mature and learn from both mythology and historical accounts to delve into the actual practices and evolve. I mean, hell, that's why they call it self evolution, self growth, maturity within the arts. It takes dedication, it takes commitment, and it takes focus. Years. It's not things that you build up within reading a single book. No. I've been doing this for 3 decades. 3 decades. That's a long time to be studying and practicing the occult in various different forms. It's taken me a long time. I've made enemies in this time. I've made friends in this time. I've gained a lot of followers, but I've also gotten a lot of haters. And it's just part of being a public figure. It is a sad fact that you're going to get this stuff. You are the only one who can allow if it gets to you or not. Do you want it to be an anchor, or do you want to just sever that tie and just keep going forward, doing what you do best? You see, remembering past orthodoxies, remote viewing of what you've been through, the different areas that it applies to. That, that is remote viewing. That is what happens as an occultist, as a dark sorcerer. It's both a blessing and a curse. I tend to look at it as a way of life. All in or all out. There is no intermediate. There is no in between. You gotta take the good with the bad, and you gotta go with it. Plain and simple. What's up, Uriel? Yeah, I noticed you popped up. How's it going? So yeah, there's a lot that goes there's a lot that goes on that a lot of people don't realize. I've had a lot of people come on. They on you look at their profile, they're into this whole Hogwarts school of wizardry bullshit. It's like, and a lot of these, it was too freaking. They got no balls. You know, sorry for the flashback to the Joker, but from Batman, the Dark Knight. But where's their balls? You call yourself a witch. You call yourself a practitioner, but yet you don't delve into angelology. You don't delve into spirituality. You don't delve into demonology. You don't get into rituals or ceremonies. You sit there and pray to this or that. More, how should I say this? Wiccan and pagan type stuff. And when somebody actually shows you the truth behind a certain topic, like the threefold law, that only goes back to 1974. It's like, what the fuck? You sit there and block the person that brings you the truth, the facts. So many people would rather go for these showboaters, these egotists, than to actually learn the truth. You see, this is what happens when you stop following the occult and you join a cult. CO, that's right, cult. I've heard the name. I have not gotten into him. But since you brought it up, that is something for me to look into. Maybe learn something from him. So thank you, Waldo. So yeah, there's a lot that you can look at. There's a lot that you can get into, but you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. Stop believing what you're told and start learning for yourself. Every being out there can learn from somebody, but eventually that proverbial umbilical cord is going to be severed and you're going to be on your own. Think of it this way: you can learn from a coven, but you're only going to learn the perspectives of that coven and what their elders are teaching you because it's their way or the highway. Why do you think so many have become solitary in practice? This is because they're not put into limitations. They're not put into encampments, adversities, where the outlook is you're wrong, I'm right, or I'm, you know, or vice versa. They're putting all this childish stuff away and they're delving into the information. They're going out and researching. Now, you take me for an example. The last year and a half, I've been studying the Cabal. And I've talked about this a little bit, but I never really went into it. When I went back into necromancy after 10 years, I started learning from the Mazajira Cabal system, Sumnus Dreadwood's works. I spent 6 months looking up just one being, set of beings, just one set of beings, 6 months. Going world over, typing in different things, getting frustrated to all hell. And then I came across one link, just one link that opened up that doorway and blew my mind wide open. The Drelith were actually the Elven in Norse mythology. They went into Germanic, Baltic. Gaelic, Scandinavian regions of the world. And yes, even are even related to the Hobbit and European, which was amazing. And when I started studying the Sith, Sith, not to be construed with the Hollywood franchise of the Jedi films. I'm talking the Sith, okay? Sith, also known as Sith in Irish. Between Scottish and Irish, you have two different spellings of these people. They were called the people of the mounds. I've learned more in the last year and a half from the Mazagir Cabal system than I did over 3 decades doing the Grimoire systems, the different traditions of African Caribbean to European. I've learned more through this one tradition than all of these others combined. So when I speak on these things, I want you to have the full picture that I've studied everything from vampirism, necromancy, Satanism, 30 years in Satanism alone. I've gone through 3 different traditions of Satanism: spiritual, theistic, and traditional. Spiritual, theistic, traditional, Satanism. Got into demonolatry, got into witchcraft, shamanism, Palo Mayombe, voodoo, Santa Morte. Learn there's 2 different styles there. La Santa Morte, which is out of Spain, and then you have the South American, Central American, and North American tradition of Santa Morte itself. There's so much information out there that you have to be willing to learn it and to see not only where its roots are today, but to see how they've changed over the years, the decades, the centuries, the eons, and how they were formulated and where. Not just of the cultures, but also the dietas. When you think voodoo, you think Loa. Well, what if I told you that there's 2 different spellings of Loa? Loa and Lwa. Interesting, isn't it? Again, you're seeing 2 different things. And a lot of people, they get into these arts. They don't know past orthodoxies. They don't pay any attention to it because it's all about me and what I'm focused on. What about being led by the Spirit? What about being led by one of these beings? The Ugan, the Loa, demons, angels, Jinn, the Blighton. You see my point? All of these beings can lead you to a path working, something that fits you personally, but more so they can reveal gnosis in ways that a mage or a sage cannot. So again, remote viewing. Begin where you are and go back. Learn, study, evolve, enlighten yourself. The Hedge Witch found it, that path working is pretty good. They're more individuals who have come together with like-minded minds. I happen to be in a couple of the groups, but still you find that same ego and that same closed-mindedness in these groups as well. Just to give you the heads up, Waldo. Trust me, you can learn from them, but if you're not like the JCI, if you're not willing to go with the flow, guess what? You will be shunned. It's a proven fact. I've learned it more than once. For an example, I was in a group where I did an entire essay on warlocks, just the definition of warlock and how it's seen from different regions of the world. But it didn't matter. It turned out it didn't matter the gnosis that I put forth. Nobody gave two shits about that. No. It was all about that one little word. And you were gangbanged. Ganged up on, hated, shunned, and blocked from the group. Plain and simple. You see, that's why I recommend learning the satanic viewpoints, especially that of the 21 satanic points, the 11 satanic rules of the earth, the 9 satanic statements, the 9 satanic sins. Now, hell, even the 13 laws of the brotherhood, the 11 adversarial doctrines put forth by Michael W. Ford. They all have merit, and they were put forth for a reason. And when you learn to apply these to your life, you'd be surprised just how far they're willing to take you, or more so, able to take you. But again, don't take my word for it. Do the research, apply it to your life. But for now, I'm going to sign off. I want you to think about this. Think about remote viewing. Look at where you are today. Look at the past. The further back you go in time, the further away from the bureaucracy, the negativity, the dogma of today's world that you're going to get. And what's this? Oh, sorry about that. I misunderstood you. Okay, I got you on that one. I do apologize, though. You did. I did mistake what you said for a different topic, so that's on me. So, but anyways, like I said, I'm going to sign off, and I hope you can take my own personal experiences here, and more so, kind of utilize your own forethought. Learn how to um, get out of your own shoes for a little bit, and just kind of take that step back and learn to replay the past, to learn for the future. All right. No, thank you, Waldo. You're welcome. I want to thank Uriel and Waldo, and it's actually all that participated here. So I want to thank you two for jumping on with me. And for those of you who will be jumping on after this video, thank you. Hope you like the material, and I hope you go out and learn. Never stop learning. Always grow. Always mature. Always become self-enlightened, because that's actually the goal. But keep in mind that there are individuals out there who are literal nut jobs. And that's being called loosely and nicely. Like the one I mentioned earlier that contacted the page that I haven't been involved with for about a year and a half. Yeah. If I told you exactly what she was talking about and wanting to do and to have happen, you would probably want to go reach out to the cops and try to get this woman arrested or at least institutionalized. Unfortunately, that's like I said, that falls underneath the curse aspect of being a teacher and a public figure and a guide. So, and a sorcerer for hire type thing. So, take that in consideration as you will. All right. Have a good night. And until next time. And I hit the wrong button. My bad.